All right, so now I want to look at conveying an urgent mood. And this is going to be a full physical demo. I'm going to go into great detail on all of these blue channels here. Okay, so we're just looking at the blue channels. And if you want to download the project, you can. If you want to download the audio files, that's also available. You can also even download the MIDI if that's what you'd like to do. Then you can plug it into any software instruments that you have. So in this urgent cue, I have four elements. I have harmony, melody, another kind of rhythmic and harmonic element, which I'll explain, and then rhythm. You'll notice that in every example here, I at least have rhythm, melody, and harmony. Our discussion of cadences, well, that's kind of included in the harmony. And then color and timbre has to do with the range and register and timbral qualities of the instruments that we're choosing. So in this urgent example here, I've gone with a rhythm that's kind of accelerating and based on subdivisions, meaning I'm taking whole beats and dividing them into eighths and smaller subdivisions. And I talked earlier on in the course about how I use the timpani here to kind of have this subdivision. First I go with full measure and then half measure, whole measure again and again. Then I start doing subdivisions here all the way to the point where I have this building crescendo. Right, so I'm using subdivisions of our beats and in our tempo in order to create this accelerating feel in my rhythm. So what's going on in the harmony? The harmony here is a very tonal B flat major chord progression. In numeral terms, it's a 2-5-6-4-6-7-1 progression here. So this first chord is a 2, a C minor, in the key of B flat, that is a 2 chord. Then we have a 5, so we have an F. Then we have G minor, which is a 6 chord in the context of B flat major. Then we have a 4, E flat. Then we have a 6, G minor. Then we have a 7, which is actually a diminished chord. This is an A diminished 7 chord, which functions towards the 1 in what we call an authentic cadence, a 7-to-1 or 5-to-1 cadence. The use of an authentic cadence here concludes this musical concept with a lot of clarity, with a lot of resolution. It really makes us feel confident and secure. That's what's happening in the rhythm, harmony, and cadence. Now let's look at the melody. So the melody has this sort of ascending contour going from lower notes to higher notes. Kind of, you can almost imagine the melody trying to climb up a mountain, and finally it gets there at the very end. I'm using only chord tones the whole time, so every note is well grounded. It is conveying triumph through the melody while the rhythm is conveying urgency with that subdivided acceleration. But I didn't want the urgency to feel uneasy and threatening. So I'm conveying to my listener through this ascending and very stable chord tone based melody that everything's going to be okay. This is redemptive, but there is some urgency. We're going to have to do some work here. That's kind of the feel that this whole cue starts to convey to the listener. So my character, who's my character? Well, this character is robust. That's being conveyed by chord tones. It's determined. That's being conveyed by the way that my melody ascends here and finally arrives at the ultimate point of resolution, a chord tone on my 1 chord, my tonic chord. So it's robust and determined, and it's bold. The character is bold. It's constantly making this ascent. It's determined and bold. What's the situation that my character is in? Well, it's very active because of the timpani rhythm and the accelerating subdivisions. It's a very active situation in which the character has to exert themselves. It's forward focused, and that is also being conveyed by my harmony because everything kind of arrives ultimately at this point of total resolution on my tonic chord, on my 1 chord. But it's also demanding because our rhythm is suggesting that things are speeding up, that time is closing in. Our melody is moving in this ascent direction, this forward moving focused direction. And that all is conveying a sense that this is a demanding context. So let's listen to this cello part. So what I'm doing here is I'm using chord tones from the individual chords, still staying very grounded, but I'm creating kind of a frenetic sense that almost like something's hounding you as the listener, like you're being chased There's sort of like, there's no time. It's steady and it's predictable, but it's also never ending. It gives you this sense that you must move forward at all costs. That's what the cello is doing. But it's also enforcing my harmony, because these are chord tones that are making up this arrangement. And at the same time, it's rhythmic because it's a steady rhythm based on eighth notes in my tempo. So let's listen to that again in the whole cue and just see how the harmony melody and that rhythmic harmonic cello combined with the accelerating rhythm in the timpani all come together. So the horns are creating a regal sense of posture and integrity. The cello is hounding us to continue. The timpani is also kind of harassing us, creating this big crescendo moment. So what we're getting from all of those different elements is a sense of urgency, but also redemptive urgency, a sense of triumph and regalness. Now let's move forward and look at how I conveyed calm and melancholy in the next lesson.